Hi everybody, Kat here. Thanks for joining me today. Today's video will be a little bit different. I'm going to be doing a voiceover, and I won't talk the entire time. We lost someone close to us over the holidays, and so I'm not feeling up to speed, and so I thought that this would be a better option. So I'm going to start by explaining what colors I'm going to use. This is Cobalt Blue Hue, an Ultramarine Blue, Turquoise, Indian Yellow, Pyrrole Rubin, and I will leave a sketch at the end of the video. That's the Pyrrole Rubin tube that it comes in. This is Baohong cotton paper that I'm using. I think cotton would be the best option only because it stays wet longer. If you don't have cotton, this will still look terrific. So that's the painting I'm using. I can't show you a reference photo because I drew this out myself, and so therefore that's your reference. So I wet the whole area and I made a mauve with the blue and the red, and this is just going to be, since it's wet and that's very wet paint, they're just going to be extremely subtle shadows that'll soften, and I don't have a heck of a lot of control over it, so it's going to go where it wants to go, and don't worry about that. And I'm just putting some yellow to start on those stems. Then it's dry, completely dry it. And I'm using that mauve again. And now I'm going in, I'm doing more detailed shadowing. So just trying to show you the difference between each petal. So this one is a closed snowdrop. And I think mauve is a nice color. You can use gray, but I thought gray would be a little bit, it's January and in Montreal it's very gray. So I thought that the mauve would look nice. And if you like this tutorial and you'd like a real time, please leave it in the comments. I'll be happy to do that. I'm always looking for ideas. And I added a little bit of red just so that I can kind of go back and forth between a more bluish mauve. See, I added blue there, and a more red. It's mauve to me is light purple. I don't know if it is to you, but that's what I call mauve. And so I just try to vary the shades. So I have a little bit more red in certain areas and a little bit more blue. I think the red looks nicer on the surface. It's just for interest, that's all it is. And there it's more blue because it's inside the petal. I really hope you try this. This turned out, I had a really relaxed, I really enjoyed doing this, and I think that it's quite relaxing actually. So now doing these stems, I just use the blues and the yellow that I already have. If you use the colors you start with, your painting automatically kind of harmonizes, it goes together. So I'm just sticking to the colors that I already have on my palette. And sometimes I use the ultramarine with the yellow, and then there are times when I used the cobalt blue with the yellow, and you get a slightly different shade with both. So it's just nice. It's just so that not everything looks exactly the same. So I've wet everything, and when I put the green beneath the stem, it just sort of seeps up into that yellow that I had already previously painted. Now that goes on to blue, so I add some yellow and voila, the problem's fixed. But it doesn't look terrible if you leave it blue. You know, it always makes a painting look interesting when you use different colors. And non-traditional colors, like everything, a stem is always green, so why not make it blue? If you want to paint it blue, paint it blue. So get your salt ready for this next step. And I'm going to mix myself a few puddles of the turquoise and the ultramarine and the cobalt, and that's the red. And it's an interesting red, isn't it? That's Pyrrole Rubin. I found it on sale, and it's a Holbein color. And I just had to buy it because it was on sale, so I picked it up and I quite like it. So now, very carefully, go around your flowers, wet everything, be generous with your water. You can see that I don't have puddles, but I do have a lot of water. And because this is cotton paper, it's getting absorbed. If you don't have cotton paper, you might want to do this in smaller sections and work while it's wet, because it sits on the top. Just carefully going around those flowers. Now here comes the fun part. And as soon as you do this, your flowers will automatically look white. Before this step, you're thinking, these flowers kind of look purple. But no, now once you get this background in, they're going to look like white flowers. It's going to be very obvious. And notice again, I'm using the same colors that we used to mix the purples, and so everything is going to go together. It's going to look natural together, I guess is what I mean. So I just drop some color in and then I swoosh it around, and I do that for the whole background. And what I try to do is, where I have, say, that red on one side of the stem, I'm going to put some on the other side of that stem. It doesn't have to be direct, evenly spaced or anything, but you just have to sort of hint at it. Now you see, on the left side of that flower, I had some red, so now I'm on the lower right side, I'm adding some red. And I just find that if you practice this when you're doing your backgrounds, it ends up always looking nice. Now despite this being sped up, I am working a little bit slowly here. Now you see I went on the other side of that stem. So I'm working a little bit slowly here. So you have to get the salt on when there's still a sheen on your paper, not sopping wet, but a sheen. And I can tell by the way this paint is going on that this area is starting to dry. Now the danger is to go in with more water than you should, and therefore it can leave like a cauliflower, which is sort of starting to happen where I put that red paint in the upper right. And then I try smoothing it out, but it really isn't a huge deal because you can use the salt in it. It kind of hides a myriad of errors. So that red splotchiness at the bottom right, that's me. I leaned in my red paint with my sweater and caused this to happen. So I wasn't really very concerned. I just wanted to explain it to you, what that is. And you can use much deeper colors. You can use, like, this is more concentrated, the turquoise. And I could have done this the whole background. Sometimes, you know, when your paper is wet, you don't realize how soft the colors will become. As they dry, they lighten quite a bit. And since the petals aren't wet, it's okay if I put salt, sprinkle it like this, kind of willy-nilly, because it won't do anything to the petals because they're not wet. Dry it again. And now I'm going with this little brush that I have. Oh gosh, I'll get the name of it for you in a second, but it's just a regular paintbrush, but it has very short, firm bristles, so I use that. And I'm scrubbing the edges so they look softer, the edge. Like the transition from the petal to the background isn't so shocking. And I think it looks much better. And now the finer details. So I'm going in again with the mauve or purple and with a smaller brush, and then I'm softening everything out with a damp, tiny brush. And this final step makes all the difference, really. Just use a little bit of blue there. Again, if you have different shades in your shadowing, it will just look interesting. And a little more natural, even though the colors may not be natural. Like if you look at a white flower, the shading, it looks gray. And you can definitely paint it in gray. As I said, I just wanted something bright. Now I'm adding some yellow to whatever blue's on my palette. And I'm going to, once again, I'm going to paint some my darks onto the stems. If you're right-handed, you should start on the left hand of your page so that you don't lean into it. As you can see, I did not do that. I got distracted. Sometimes I'm all over the place when I'm painting. And I'm softening everything. Sorry about the cut off paper up there. That's just that extra leaf above the stem. And you'll see it again in a few minutes, but it was cut off. I didn't realize. So now I'm going to add some bleed proof white, just to remind ourselves that these are January snowdrops. And I put some paint and some water, and a viewer had suggested that I try tapping my paintbrush onto another paintbrush, and it did work better. I still got it on my glasses and all over the place, but it worked better. And I'm just tickling some of the tops, just putting a tiny, just alluding to a little bit of snow. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for your patience. I really hope you give this a try, and if you do, don't forget to post it in the Facebook group. Happy watercoloring, everybody. Bye-bye.